Welcome to the Pyramid Insider, friends. My name's Tyler Patner, and today we have the Crosman Prospect in 177 caliber. Now, we first saw the Crosman Prospect at the 2024 SHOT Show. It has a very aggressive, eye-catching look to it, which may or may not be for you. That remains to be seen. You guys will let me know down in the comments, of course. But this is Crosman's regulated kind of $350-ish PCP offering. It's available in 22 caliber as well as the 177 that we have here. Now, what makes the Prospect different than what we've seen in the Crosman line specifically before as far as PCPs go is that this has a lot of bells and whistles here. This is definitely an attempt from Crosman to compete in that regulated $350 to $400 market, and we will find out today how well it compares to those other offerings out there, because this does have all the bells and whistles that you would expect for it to be able to compete in that price range. Starting at the front of the Prospect, we do have a threaded muzzle end here. Under this knurled cap, you have a half 20 thread. You can add moderator of your choosing. But of course, following that back, we do have a fully shrouded barrel, so this should be fairly quiet, particularly in this 177 caliber. Dropping down to the air cylinder, we do have a quick disconnect fill fitting right under this kind of press-on cap there. Air cylinder fills to 3625 PSI, 250 bar, and of course there is a gauge underneath to help you kind of figure out where you're at in the fill cycle. Coming back to the breech, the heart of the gun here, it is a full metal breech with a Picatinny rail up top, and of course a split breech design to allow for your magazine. This is a 12-round mag here in the 177 caliber. You've got a nice number display on the side there, so when you load it in like so, you can just turn the gun sideways to see how many shots you have left, and you can also see that kind of on the top here as well. So you have a couple different reference points depending on your angle or your view of the gun to tell you how many rounds are left in this magazine. It also comes with a single shot tray if you need it. You do get a nice bag of Allen keys for just about every screw on the gun. It does also come with a degassing screw in case you ever do need to degas the rifle. Now, one thing you'll notice on the left-hand side of this breech is this silver knob right here. Now, this is a transfer port power adjustment. We've seen this on plenty of other guns before. There aren't any detents in this, so it just freely turns and allows you some tunability of this gun. So we'll shoot it on that low power setting to give you guys an idea of how low this gun can go, and then you're gonna be able to pretty much set it anywhere in between. The majority of our testing today, of course, though, is gonna be on high power. We wanna see what this gun outputs from a power perspective, and obviously that's gonna give us the best idea of how it will perform at distance. And we're gonna, of course, stretch this to 45 yards to see what it can do. Now, flipping the gun over to the right-hand side of the breech so we can show you the side lever action here. As you can see, you've got that side lever there. There's no drop down or anything on it, and it is kind of thin. So I found in my use so far, it can be a little tricky to find quickly in terms of operating the gun fast. But once you get used to it, not going to be an issue for any of you guys out there. Now, dropping down to the trigger unit, this is a two-stage adjustable trigger. We only have one adjustment screw here, so right through this hole there. It is not a true first and second stage adjustable trigger, but you do have that adjustment screw at the back. You do have a safety in front of the trigger there. You flip it back, that is going to render the trigger safe, and you're not going to be able to pull it there. And forward obviously will let you pull the trigger and operate the rifle. At the back of the action, we do have a hammer spring adjustment as well. Now, we're not going to play with this a ton today. We're going to shoot it as it came out of the box, but know that with the transfer port and with the hammer spring adjustment, you're going to be able to manipulate the power output of this gun pretty significantly. Of course, with the transfer port adjustment, we're going to give you an idea what both high and low power looks like. But no, you're going to be able to influence shot count and output power as well. And one thing I did not mention, I mentioned it earlier, but not as we were going through the gun. This is a regulated gun. Now, I don't know where exactly the regulator is set, and there is no gauge for it, and that's okay. But it should give us very consistent performance, and obviously we will figure out both where it's set and what kind of consistency it's giving us when we put it over the chronograph. Prospect magazine's really easy to load. You are just going to drop the pellet in, press it through there, and rotate to the next slot. There's no kind of pre-tensioning that you need to do. This is all super duper easy. And that is 12. And once you got that 12th pellet in there, you are good to go. You load this in, you go shoot. And last but not least, before we head out to the range, let's talk about this stock. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, not really a fan. It's a very aggressive look. Does have an adjustable cheek piece, which is nice, rubber butt pad, very solid feeling polymer synthetic stock here. You've got some nice texturing on the forehand, and it kind of dips here, which is nice for offhand actually. Gives you a nice little hand positioning point when you're holding the gun in that offhand position. One thing I particularly am not a fan of is this kind of bump out here at the grip. It doesn't give you a good place or like a form-fitted place for that thumb. Very thin though to wrap around if you're going to do that and wrap your hand around the grip there. Feels pretty good overall, but the look is not for me, I will tell you that up front. But more importantly, we need to know how this gun performs and if it's worth your time, your money. So let's head out to the range and find out. All right, so taking the Prospect here in the 177 out to 45 yards. Results weren't too bad, just so you guys know, because you hit me with it in the comments every time. Yes, we tested Crosman Premiers, and no, they did not perform well, all right? Just know that. We test H&Ns, we tested some slugs, we do all the things before we put the guns on camera. So I have an idea of what shoots best before we get it out here and film it. So starting with not bad, a 0.8 inch group out of JSB Monster Redesigns. That is a heavy pellet, 13.4 grains. Not a bad spread there. JSB 10-3s, very similar actually. Only a slight POI change in terms of my holdover, just so you guys know. Had two go in that hole there, so not too bad. Again, 0.8 under an inch is pretty okay. 3/4 of an inch, the JTS 10.4 grains. Again, this thing definitely likes the heavy stuff, but best by far a 5/8 inch, 0.6 inch group out of the standard JSB Monsters. That's pretty great. You know, again, budget gun, 350 bucks. 177 can be a little tricky sometimes, but I think a lot of you will be pleased that this thing likes the heavier pellets the way it's set up now, knowing that you have some tunability, adjustability with both the hammer spring and the transfer port adjustment. Now we're gonna take those JSB Monsters, put them over the chronograph for you guys, let you know what you can expect shot count wise off of a full fill from the Prospect. We'll run it through all the other tests, and we'll see you back in the studio to close it out. So the Prospect over the chronograph is coming in pretty impressively, if I do say so myself. 3,600 PSI fill, you are looking at 65 good shots on this regulator, down to about 1,600 PSI. And one thing to note, that 1,600 PSI is actually where you fall off the green section on the gauge. So it looks like Crosman has pre-marked that gauge to tell you, hey, here's the regulated portion of your fill, which I love. I like that a lot. The spread of just 15 feet per second over those 65 shots is really solid. Standard deviation of 3 feet per second with an average coming in at 790 92 feet per second with those 13.4 JSB monsters. You were looking at 18.6 foot-pounds, very consistent, which obviously led to our decent downrange accuracy. So really solid results out of the Crosman Prospect. All right, friends, let's wrap up the Crosman Prospect here in the 177 caliber. Overall, the performance is quite good out of the gun. In terms of shot count, you're looking at over 60 shots at a fairly high power. You're just under 20 foot-pounds, and it's really consistent. I was actually quite impressed with that over the chronograph. It looks really good. And just to give you guys an idea, if you drop the transfer port to the lowest setting, we were almost at 800 feet per second, right in the 790s with those 13.4 monsters. You go down to 341 feet per second. That means you're gonna be able to tune this thing to pretty much shoot any pellet that you want. So you're getting a very broad range of adjustment, not just with the transfer port, but also to back it up with the hammer spring adjustment. That's got a lot of good stuff in it. So just because we had heavy stuff shoot well in our barrel at this current setup, you might find better luck at a different setting with lighter pellets, right? So having the ability to adjust that at your fingertips is very important and something I like a lot. As far as the downers for me, the side lever is a little loose when you're operating it, and it's a little small in terms of grabbing it for quick reloads, but functionally it works fine. The magazine, we did have a couple hang-ups, not like any true problematic things, but sometimes I would go to cock it and it would not cycle to the next pellet, meaning the spring is either a little weak or it's getting squeezed and pinched in the breech here. Either way, wasn't something we had happen super often, just a couple of times, but something to note. And I'm not a huge fan of the look of the gun. Those are my gripes right there. But feels good, handles well. The trigger's not amazing, but it's a solid hunting trigger. It could use a little adjusting here out of the box, a little bit of creep, but performs fairly well. Doesn't feel as heavy as it came up at. I was surprised it was over 3.5 pounds. In general, though, the gun's very solid. If you're looking for a good field target gun or something to shoot off the bench in the backyard, I do think this is worth your attention for that $350 to $400 price range. But if you're looking for something to go maybe small game hunting with, you want to walk in stock, this is a pretty heavy option, 8.5 pounds or so unscoped. So probably not going to be the best option there, but performance certainly solid in both the shot count and accuracy departments, and there's a lot to love in terms of adjustability. So the Crosman Prospect, guys, let us know what you think down in the comments below. Shoot us a like if you enjoyed the video today. We appreciate it a ton, and if you are not already, please do subscribe. Helps us kick the YouTube algorithm into high gear and share the love on these videos. Thank you all again for watching. I'm Tyler Patner. We'll see you next time.